All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about how to put together the full analysis of a piece of literature. In a previous video, I looked at what to look for when we're annotating. Now we're going to look at how all of that kind of works together. So, there's really kind of three steps of analysis. The first one is kind of what I looked at in the other video, which is reading and observing. So, first, you want to read through the story just to get an idea of what happens, but then you're going to go back through and just observe. So that's where we're going to do annotations. So we're going to look at, point of view, setting, character, plot conflict, symbols, and we're going to annotate, mark, take note of everything that we notice dealing with that. Just because we mark it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to use it, but we're going to find as much information as we can. So I use this story as an example. It's Popular Mechanics by Raymond Carver. And what I did is I just went through and I kind of highlighted places where I noticed setting, character, point of view, anything like that. And then I made some comments out to the side. So I noticed the point of view is very limited. It doesn't give us any internal thoughts. The characters aren't named. There's very little description of them. I highlighted several places where it talks about darkness, that things aren't giving off light, uh, conflict. If you read the story, there's a clear kind of argument happening between this couple, and they're arguing over the baby and who gets the baby. So there's the conflict, which is intensifying as the story goes along. I made some notes of characterization and how characters are developing. The man you see there is very aggressive, and then the woman often retreats, and so there's this kind of back and forth that happens down there. And then setting. I marked some stuff with setting, with the snow, with the darkness, with the kitchen and all that. So I took time to read through all that and make notes of as many things as I could with that. Now, the second step is what we call identifying patterns. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our notes and we're going to look for any types of patterns that we notice. So, four different things we can look for. One is any curiosities, things that make us question, ask questions, things that we wonder about. The second is any repetition, and that doesn't necessarily mean repetition of words, it can be repeated ideas, repeated, anything that goes along with that. The other one, which is similar, is any kind of opposites that we notice, we'll make note of, and then links, allusions, references, links to other stories, anything like that. So for this story, I noticed a few things. There were a lot of curiosities. One being, why aren't the characters named? Why are they fighting? We never get that. What happens in the end? What happens to the baby at the end there? It doesn't ever tell us. Why is everything so dark? That kept coming up. Then I went to look at the idea of repetition. So there's kind of a cyclical thing that happens with characters where the man threatens, the woman retreats and kind of yells at him, and then we kind of start that pattern over again where he follows her and threatens her again through all that. There's definitely repetition of darkness. So it's dark outside. Lights keep getting turned off. There's even the quote, it was getting dark on the inside too. And then I went through and counted. Dark is mentioned 3 times. Light is mentioned twice. And both times it's mentioned, it's in the context of lights going off. So darkness is definitely a thing in there. The opposites, the man and the woman are very opposite in the way they handle stuff. We've got light versus dark opposing each other there. We've got this idea of something pure and something ruined. The snow is melting into dirty water. The flower pot was nice, but then it gets broken. And then there is one link in there toward the end. Um, there's a story from the Bible where King Solomon is having to decide between two mothers, which one is the actual mother, and so he says that the baby that they're fighting over should be cut in half to determine which of the two women love the baby the most, and the one who is the real mother is says that the other one can have her. So there is kind of an allusion to that. So I made notes of that, and I'm making those connections and seeing those patterns. And then the last thing we want to do is just draw conclusions and look at how we can connect ideas together. And this is where theme comes in. And so what I noticed here, one, there's this theme of distance. We've got the couple that is distant from each other. The narrator is very distant, where we don't have any kind of names, we don't have descriptions and all that kind of stuff. Another common thing I saw was that things are degenerating. Snow is turning into dirty water. The lights are turning off. The conflict between the two characters is getting worse and worse and worse. And then there's also kind of this idea of a lack of caring, where they don't care about each other. They don't seem to really care about the baby. And so they're not talking things through and all that. And so what I would then do is come up with a theme statement, and I can use these 3 ideas that can kind of put together a theme statement. So for this, I might put something together in regards to the relationships and how when relationships grow distant and couples don't communicate, then things can degenerate, and something that was once good can turn into something that is very terrible. And so that's kind of the process through literary analysis. And then if I put the analysis together, then I would take that theme and then I would take all my notes and explain how that theme is developed.